when you're lining up your Tuesday, sure, turn on some Braves fills. And then your afternoon affair, the Houston Astros, 6 straight ALCSs going through Houston. They host their divisional friends, the Seattle Mariners, who took down the Blue Jays. I was coming into the playoffs, I thought we might get this matchup, and I was a little nervous because the Astros have been such a big brother. With how Seattle took care of their business in Toronto, I'm pretty jazzed up for this. With their young core and who they want to be. This is their shot at Big Bro, and I think they're going to swing hard. I don't know what that means. Astros did beat them 12-7 this year. Astros obviously dominated the division. We had a little June brawl between these two. These guys have seen each other a lot. Trev, Houston, Seattle.
Oh man. Yeah, this is gonna be probably my favorite series that I watched in the DS. Because there is still that aspect, like the Houston Astros run the division, they run the AL. I believe it's 5 straight times to the ALCS. Jake, I think you added the year there, no big deal.
About to.
So I think the Mariners have to get over that. But the way that they went into Toronto and just punched those dudes square in the face, I don't think they care about who's in front of them. I think maybe that does matter in the regular season. Like going into Houston's tough, and like these guys are really good, and we're still kind of a young team. Like, what's our identity? I think they found it, man. I think that they are not scared of this series at all. I think Houston understands. Yeah, we've been dominant and we played well against these guys. 12-7 against them this year in the 19 games they played against each other. But I don't think Houston is looking at this series and like licking their chops. I think they understand this is going to be a tough one. And like I said, I think for me, it's going to be my favorite series to watch. Also aesthetically pleasing. I'm going to rate it an 8 out of 10. I like it, dude.
Ooh, yeah.
I love the Mariners jerseys. I'll admit that. Whoever they're going up with, as long as they aren't too matchy. I like the orange against like that teal is awesome.
Yeah, that's a great call.
I'm into it.
That's a great call. As we start with these two division matchups, these teams, again, know each other a lot, seen each other a lot. Justin Verlander, depending however you want to cut up the numbers, they're incredible. 5-1 versus the Mariners this year with a 2.34 ERA. He hasn't allowed a home run in his last 58 2/3. So much talk about how important the home run is these playoffs. He's been doing that. He attacks the zone. He's got 187 innings in the playoffs. A full season of playoff baseball this guy has pitched. Probably your Cy Young winner. That's a bad man. It's a bad man. In Houston, afternoon game, all the oil and gas people skipping out on work to get rowdy for a little baseball game. Woo!
But this is a situation again where the Mariners took it in 2 games and they were able to save their 3 guy to start here. And Logan Gilbert's an excellent 3. I mean, you could make an argument that he's, the second best pitcher on that team, second best starter on that team. So they're going to have him going. And then you have Castillo returning for game 2, then Robbie Ray for game 3. I think I'm curious to see what they do with Kirby. Like, is he going to start game 4? Is he going to be like a piggyback type of guy? Maybe some more high leverage situations. We'll see what they do with him. But I think the pitching kind of matches up against each other. I know, about Houston starters and like what they're going to do. It's going to go Verlander, our guy Framber, then McCullers Jr. I think the starting pitching matches up, and there's a really, really good matchups. That's why I'm saying like Houston is looking at this series and being like, okay, like we're in for a fight here. I think one big stat I did see was how poorly the Mariners hitters have fared in Houston this year. And they're hitting under 200. They're going to have to overcome that. There are some times, man, when you go into a park, you don't see the ball well. Sometimes it's because the pitcher's just really good. I think that's probably what happened in this instance. But they're not comfortable there. And I think that's something you have to look for.
Yes. I as I mentioned, the Braves are a team that it's hard to find what their weakness or Achilles heel can be. Houston is the same way. Their bullpen, the best ERA in baseball. And a lot of dudes that have now pitched in big-time games before. Presley, Stanek, Montero's new to the game. Neris is there. They've tapped into him. Let's see how they use Javier, Urquidy, and Garcia, guys that have now pitched in big games, and if they come in, they won't be scared, and, their stuff can even tick up out of the bullpen. Houston's lineup, Altuve has been hot recently. He will set the tone as he always does. Yordan Alvarez, the best player in baseball that doesn't get talked about enough. Bregman, his second half was insane. Tucker, potential LJM guy. He's chilled off a little bit of late. And Jeremy Pena, the young shortstop. That's the one thing that's different from this Houston team. I'm very interested to see how the kid looks in his first playoff series, because that used to be Carlos Correa, which you knew what he was going to bring. All-world defense and big-time at-bats. Pena has done nothing to make you think he'll do otherwise. But let's see it in his first playoff series, because everyone's first playoff series is different. But God, across the board, man, the team doesn't have an Achilles heel.
They don't. And they have some guys with some good numbers against Logan Gilbert. Altuve probably has good numbers against everyone. He's one of those dudes. He's 8 for 19 with a homer and 5 doubles against him. So he'll look to set the tone right away. Bregman, our guy, my new best friend. We text all the time. No, we don't. 7 for 17 against Logan Gilbert. And then Yordan Alvarez, 5 for 17. He has owned a few of the players, including your guy, Jeremy Pena. He's 0 for 8 against them this season. So that's, these are some stats, some trends that might continue. But you're right. This Houston lineup is it's relentless. They can hit for power. They can get on base. There isn't a weakness on this team. You talked about the bullpen. Ryan Stanek had a 1.15 throughout the year. He set the Houston mark for ERA by a reliever in a season. This is a guy who, pretty good, but has turned it on this year, and now you have another dominant dude to go along with Presley and the rest of those dudes at the back end of the bullpen. They're daunting, man, but nothing that the Mariners, they're not afraid of anything, man. They are not. So if you can go into Toronto and do what they did, a massive comeback like that, Toronto's not an easy place to play either, and that team's scary, but they don't give a shit, dude.
Yeah. They won't feel out of it. Like I kind of started off when I saw the playoff bracket, I kind of, I was like, hey, if Toronto clicks and those young guys, if, Vladdy, Bichette, Springer, if they rise to the occasion, I think they could really give this Houston team a scare. Seattle, knowing that Houston's been the alpha in there for a while and they're young and up and coming, I was like, Houston might be licking their chops for this. After what they did in Toronto, I view it very differently. Seattle's going to give their biggest punches. I think a couple are going to land, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means trying to win the series. I don't know if that's 2 games. I don't know. But I like Seattle coming into this more than I did when I first saw the bracket. Luis Castillo, you know what he's going to do out there. He's going to give you a chance. Let's see if Logill has that in the tank. Let's see if Robbie Ray can find it. And, like you said, George Kirby, we saw them use him as a weapon. Will he be there? Patrick Corbin from recent years, that maybe he comes in as a weapon and then he's still starting a game 4. Really like Seattle's bullpen as well. Sewald, Munoz, Swanson, Castillo, Brash, Penn Murphy, our guy. In that lineup, Adam Frazier.
Say that again.
Which guy?
Penn Murphy.
So
good.
Adam Frazier, who had a down year. Guess what? Couple big playoff games. He is now a threat, and that trade was big for them. Carlos Santana with the big ding-dong. Big dumper with that big dumper. Up and down Seattle's lineup, there's not an easy out. Hello, J.P. Crawford. I think the Mariners are going to give some good punches. I just don't know what it does, because I've seen this Houston team over and over take every team's best punch for the past half a decade, and it rarely phases them.
Because of the starting pitching. You can talk about the Mariners line. You could talk about any lineup you want. But that starting pitching that the Astros have, Justin Verlander is going to win the AL Cy Young. Okay? He's looked absolutely phenomenal all year long. He's had a ton of experience. All these guys have experience because they're in the playoffs every single year. He's probably got the most playoff experience of any of them. You know what you're going to get from him. Then Framber Valdez gave you, 26 straight quality starts? Maybe more. I don't even know. I stopped counting. It was too many. I can't count that high, Jake.
Yeah.
I can't count as high as many as quality starts as Framber Valdez gave this year. Think about that. In a row. And then, Lance McCullers Jr., Moxie King, Moxie
your
King.
Moxie King.
For game 3. I mean, that is why you have to give the edge to the Astros in this series. I mean, you could go up and down the line. I would argue the bullpens are a wash. But that starting pitching that the Houston Astros have,
yeah,
I think it's just totally dominant, dude.
I know we do have some better measures of units of measure than just pure ERA. I got there.
Words are hard.
Not a Stanford guy like you. Here's the ERAs of Verlander, Framber, and McCullers if they go that way. 1.75 for Justin. 2.82 for Framber, the high man on the totem pole. And a 2.27 for Lance McCullers Jr. So, I've been talking a lot about big three. Oh, Philly, they got those two guys. Hell, even San Diego. Those guys are pretty good. It's always Houston, seemingly. So with that, I think I've been alluding to it. I still think Houston has the dogs and the mustard and everything to win this series. I think I have them in 5. I think Seattle's going to really swing big. I think they win the Castillo game. I think they win another one. I think game 5 in Houston, I think those boys do what they do, especially if that's Justin Verlander's. That's JV's game. I kind of told I told who was the team that was playing Houston to finish the season? Philly. I said don't have your season depend on a Justin Verlander start. And I think if you're Seattle, you don't want that either.
You're going Houston in 5.
Houston in 5.
It's going to be hard for me to pick against any of these teams that had to bye. I mean, I think I have one that I'm gravitating towards, but it's not this one. I think Houston does win this series. And you know what? I hope the Mariners fans can dance on my grave again because they've been doing it all year long. And if they want to clip this, go for it. I think the Houston Astros win in 5.
Okay, Mariners Twitter account. Post it. Trevor Plouffe hates you.
I never said that. I picked this team to be in the playoffs. I
think
wanted
Seattle
them to be good. They just had a bad start to the year, and Julio Rodriguez didn't look like Julio Rodriguez yet. Okay,
like Trout.
Sick of explaining myself.
I think Seattle loves you, dude. I think Seattle loves you.
I love Seattle. I've said so many good times. I have been elevated higher than that Space Needle in Seattle. You know what I mean?
Sounds like the first album to your CD.
You guys can talk about old Russ together.
Ooh, Danger Russ.
Old Russ.
Talking about that.
I like the tidbit Erica put on here. Scott Service played for Dusty Baker. So that's interesting. I like when the managers have some history together.
I think
that's
we might
fun.
see benches clear in that series. How about that? I think
Dusty Baker versus Scott Service. Who you got? Is Dusty going to poke him with the toothpick?
The toothpick comes into play. I mean, Service has a couple years. Yeah. Let's see. Hopefully they
Advantage
fight.
Mariners.
Advantage Mariners.